In this session, let's take a few minutes to think about how we might use iPads in the classroom, but maybe not in exactly the same way that we've been thinking. Specifically, I'm encouraging teachers today to think a little more purposefully about the iPad use. There are tons of great apps out there and many places online that you can find information about what to purchase. But when it comes to how to structure the activities on those iPads, I think we can add a little more detail. One thing that I encourage everyone to consider is tying it to purposeful teaching in general. Simply stated, we need to encourage students to plan for iPad use. Ask them to think in advance of what they'll be doing on the iPad. Let's try to encourage them to avoid jumping from activity to activity and instead thinking more deeply about what it is they're doing. So let's take a look at how we might think about structuring things differently and some tools we might use to do that. This is an example of a simple form that I created as an iPad journal. Now, I used Google Docs to create this form, and it literally only took me a few seconds. Please note that I just made up the apps on here as a way to illustrate this. So a student could either use this as a printed form, or if they wanted to, they could actually just click the answers, do a little bit of reflection, think about their achievement, and submit this online. So using a form like this, even if it's something very simple, can provide you information about what kids are doing. If you actually did it as a Google form and you had students submit it, Google Docs will automatically create for you a spreadsheet. So on any given day, you could easily take a look at what students are doing with the iPad in your class, at least to whatever degree they accurately self-report. Something like this could be used for an individual student just to monitor his or her work. It could be used as a class form to monitor everyone's work. And if you wanted to, you could easily create something that has student names and other ways of identifying who is responding with which information. Let's backtrack a little bit to see exactly how I created my form, just in case you'd like to try to create your own. You first start with a Google account. So as long as you have a Google account, you simply log in to your account. And from this main screen, you click on the word Documents at the top. Once I click on Documents, I have the option to create something new. Now, if I have files already created, I can upload them here. But since we're going to be creating a form, I'm going to click Create, and I'm going to go down to the word Form. Once I've selected Create Form, I come up with this blank slate. And for my form, I just called this, my iPad journal. I could type any instructions in right here and my question type. So let's say I'm going to use this for a class. I might create something that's called name so that all of my students go in here and enter their name. So question title, I say name. Question type, I'm going to say choose from a list. And then I can just go and type in every student's name. And when they go to use this form, they'll find their own name. And that way I'll have a record of student names and responses. So I'm going to enter all my student names. Let's assume that I've done them all. I will click Done for that question. Then I go down, it says Sample Question 2. If you see the little pencil, that's where you go to edit the question. So I click on the pencil to edit. And this one I will say, My apps. And this is where I typed in my comment about these are the apps I used. Question type, for this one I'm going to choose checkboxes because I want students to be able to see them all at the same time. And I'm just hitting the tab button to go to the next one. And literally as fast as I can type, I can enter information. So I would so forth and so on. I would add all of my apps. I click Done. And then let's say I want to add up here, I'm going to add item. I'm going to add another question that's going to be paragraph text. And for my title, I might say, you know, reflection, or whatever word you'd like to use here. And I would give them instructions. Write 2 sentences describing your progress today. Whatever you want your question to be, I will say done. And finally, I'm going to add a theme so that my page looks nice. You sure don't have to, but you remember my little piano, that's how I put it on there. I clicked on theme. I made a selection. Again, it's simple preference, whatever it is that you like. I'm going to just choose my urban landscape for this one. And now suddenly I have my iPad journal. My form looks great. And when I save this, I'm going to click apply up here. When I save this, I now have my very own online form. And all anybody needs is the web address. I can email it out. I can just copy it here. I can embed it on another web page, and anybody can go out and use my form. So it's as easy as that to get started. I know I've made that overly simplified, but when I tell you you could create an interactive form in a minute, you really can. For more instructions, just Google creating a Google form, and I'm sure you could see it all repeated very simply. In the article, I also mentioned the use of different apps for monitoring student behavior. One program that I found very easy to use and to customize is the Teacher's Assistant Pro. I've downloaded this to my iPhone so that I could see how easily I could create my own form fields and monitor very specific student behaviors in the classroom. It was simple to use. It does take possibly looking online for specific instructions. Be sure you watch the tutorial so that you know how to make this a tool that's useful for you. It's $7.99, which to put technology in your hands to data track is really a pretty good deal. It doesn't collect very sophisticated data per se, but it allows you to at least have a running record of student behavior, and also allows you from your phone or iPad to email parents every time a specific behavior occurs and you want to give them some kind of an anecdotal update. So it's less about frequency counts and that types of thing, and more about anecdotal reporting, but it's a pretty nice tool to have in your hand. Or other mobile device for education, for specific apps, for specific curriculum-based opportunities, or whether you're just using it to make your behavior monitoring more purposeful. Let's think about adding those layers of planning, implementing, and reflecting, both for the students and for ourselves when using this kind of technology. That's how we'll be able to answer the question, is this working?